I very much agree with the concerns that have been raised by the SNP spokesperson. A general point, first of all, I recognise that this is not being introduced purely for no-deal planning, but clearly there's a recognition that the risk of shortages increases in a no-deal scenario. And it just seems to me that it absolutely beggars belief that there were cabinet ministers in this government willing last Thursday to purposefully vote against an extension and in favour, therefore, of the risk of a no deal in just a few days' time, knowing that the risk to patients would increase as a result of doing that, putting patients at risk. And it is extraordinary that ministers in a government could choose to vote in that way, knowing that patients would be put at greater risk. I want to address particularly the concern of patients with epilepsy and the concerns that have been raised by the really good organisation SUDEP Action. Just for those who are unaware, SUDEP means sudden unexpected deaths in epilepsy. So we are talking here about all of those people who lose their lives as a result of epilepsy. And there are very real and legitimate concerns about the impacts of this measure on those people. And to bring it into really sharp focus, Simon Lees, one of the trustees of SUDEP Action, who has epilepsy, was today refused the supply of one of his 3 epilepsy medications because of shortage. Today that happened. Now, his brother died from epilepsy shortly after his medication was changed. So the risk to patients is very real. Now, as others have said, pharmacists are highly skilled professionals, but they are not specialist prescribers or skilled in assessing the risk of unexpected death through epilepsy. There is a particular concern, I should say, Madam Deputy Speaker, about those people with a learning disability who may also have epilepsy, who are particularly at risk. And those pharmacists, as the SNP spokesperson has already said, do not have access to the full patient record. The need for these patients for consistency of supply, of dosing, of timing and the formulation of anti-epileptic drugs is absolutely critical. There is a real risk when medications change. That's why specialist prescribers play such an important role in any change to a patient with epilepsy. Person-centred prescribing and patient and medication management is the most effective way to keep these patients safe. So little wonder that these people and the organisation that supports them is so concerned about this. Now, I would also want to make some particular points that SUDEP Action have raised. The current documentation on the protocol indicates that there is no requirement for patients to be made aware of medication changes. Now, that just seems to me to be extraordinary, or a recognition of the channels available to them should they wish to challenge or question those changes. Without these safeguards, people with epilepsy may be unaware of medication changes that have occurred, putting them at significant risk, particularly if these changes result in increased side effects or changing seizure control. Third, it is unclear whether the pharmacist, the original prescriber or the government are ultimately accountable for adverse effects. This is the point I made in my challenge to the Minister, caused by one of the protocols being activated. Should a death occur following a lack of consistency of supply of the usual medication, then who is held to account for that change? As others have said, Madam Deputy Speaker, it seems to me to be essential that the government makes publicly available a list of the medications that are at risk of shortage there should be an early warning system for prescribers so that they are aware of the risks of medications running short in supply. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, to conclude, there are legitimate and serious concerns here, and that is why I will be joining in voting in favour of this motion.
Thank you very much, Madam